Fuck. All right, we're rolling.
Rolling.
Planet B
Presents
Cult and Culture Podcast.
Welcome to episode 46 of the Cult and Culture Podcast. I'm Justin Pearson.
And I'm Luke Henshaw.
All right, this episode's pretty wild. It features our homie Spenser Little, which we both go way back with, but we didn't know that it intersected.
Yeah.
It's pretty wild. I knew him from like punk shows.
Yeah, and I knew him from way back in the day with graffiti days and a lot of friends. And
Yeah.
He's a good dude, and we're lucky to have him on this podcast.
We're lucky to have him in San Diego.
Yeah,
I mean,
he doesn't really do podcasts.
No, I know. We'll get into like his art and where it shows up in the city, and it's got this like such a weird like sort of Dada situationist, I don't know, social commentary undertone. Like it's just he's such a righteous person, and I think it's just really nice to align with people like that. So yeah, we'll get into all of it. And if you have the ability to check out his art, you should really dive into it. He's such a badass and just a really genuine, gentle, great human being, which is such a pleasure to be around.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah. Oh wait. Whoa, what's up? This is our friend Rika here with the produce. Damn, here.
Wow, Foodshed.
Oh, so Foodshed. All right, have a seat.
Yes.
Yeah, so this is one of our sponsors. Foodshed brings us organic produce. You want to go into the spiel about this stuff?
Yes. Well, we are a farmer and worker-owned co-op here in San Diego, and we're pretty committed to regenerative agriculture and to serve people in the community who's been historically marginalized, and they don't have access to this type of food. So yeah, we try to make it like very accessible for everyone.
So real quick though, it's like your what's it called? Like your brick and mortar is in City Heights in San Diego, which is very close to here. But what do you like? So your farms are out east, and then
There's farms. We work with like around 60 farms, and whoever's familiar with like farming, farmers usually do a crop plan, and in that crop plan that we design, there's 25 farms that we aggregate from them, all the way from the border to Temecula.
so the thing that like maybe separates you guys from other local farmers would be this sort of
Unique.
well, yeah, but also like the fact that you are trying to hit up marginalized communities.
Yes.
So how does that work as far as like getting the food distribution? Because you do deliveries, right?
Yeah, well,
I mean, Foodshed specifically, the mobile, it's like Foodshed Mobile is the app name on Instagram, right?
yes, on the Instagram, at some point we were doing mobile markets and we go to different places, but now we have a physical space. But
In City Heights.
in City Heights, and one of the things that work really good, and if you ask any like farmer, is the CSAs, community supported agriculture, which is like already a subscription where farmers don't lose any money because you pay the money up front for people to get in a season a certain amount of food every week in this case. So we've been doing we serve a lot of people we have a contract with the Mas Fresco program where people is a veggie prescription program, so clinics prescribe people that will benefit from eating more vegetables, fruits and vegetables. And since all our stuff is chemical free food, their health is going to improve.
Of course.
So we got a contract with UCSD and the Mas Fresco program, and we've been serving around 500 families for the last 3 years.
In the communities that are called food deserts, right?
So City Heights is a little bit not much as a food desert because you can access maybe not super quality food or organic food, but you can access food
like through the smaller bodegas and stuff.
Yeah.
But they won't have like all of this stuff though.
They wouldn't. I don't think there's anyone, even like us in San Diego, that works the way we work, and this specifically, we try to encourage, or actually, because none of the farmers that we work with use chemicals, but we try to encourage with incentives to the farmers to do regenerative agriculture, and in that way fight climate change, right? So the communities that we serve, which like usually are marginalized and don't have access to this, also when you have conversations about, like, for example, climate change, people feel like, how can I help? What can I do if I'm just like in this neighborhood? I have 5 children. It's hard. Both of us work.
Because this produce is actually cheaper than if you were to go to, I mean, for sure, like a Whole Foods or something like that, or Sprouts.
Yeah.
But it's also all locally sourced. So like when you go to like certain places, it's like, this is from Mexico or fucking wherever.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that when we talk to people in the community or whoever comes to us, is that when you see organic produce, let's say at one of those fancy stores, but it comes from another place, another country, you should think about like the impact in the environment, bringing stuff from the other side of the world. And then if you ask yourself, if they're able to sell this food for this price, imagine how much money they gave the farmers.
Yeah,
you know, so nothing. And we're trying to create this local food system to try to fix it, so the farmers can get as much money as they can from us, and we get the minimum money just for doing deliveries and transportation. Yeah.
That's so awesome. We are so grateful to have Foodshed as one of our sponsors, and also just you in general. I mean, 'cause we go back too. Like, it's funny when we met up, and we're just like, it's always like punk. It always brings everybody together, but like the punk scene. But yeah, you guys are awesome, and you have your spot's cool. If you're in San Diego, you should check it out. You do have events there occasionally.
Yeah, we do pop-ups all the time from different people who are doing different things in San Diego, efforts from art to food, and people go and do pop-ups there, bring more people that can, like, access to this food. And one of the things that I wanted to mention is also that we take, so like I said, subscriptions is a big thing in order for the farmers to make sure that they already have the money. So we have a CSA box that is one of them, of fresh five items for $20 and one for 10 for $34. But if you have CalFresh or EBT, it's half the price.
Whoa.
So 10 and 17. And then on Saturday markets, we have a sliding scale. And from retail, the highest price that we can sell something, people have a chance to either pay a price that we don't make any money, but we don't lose any money, and one that is like 20% below. So it's around 40% from retail, so people can access this food.
That's crazy too, because the pay what you want model is really interesting. There's a really great vegan sushi place at the farmers markets, and he has pay what you want, and he says he gets more money than he would ever get if he was charging a certain rate. So people are it's so much more in support of something that's like that. So it's really cool.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know. You're awesome, man.
No, you guys are awesome.
And if you're not in San Diego, please try to source out local farmers in your city or wherever you're from, and pay attention to the politics of agriculture. It's so important.
Yes, I mean, like the way all of the farmers that work with us are doing a big impact fighting climate change. Just by grabbing all this carbon that is out there and then put it back in the soil. That's what we want, and that's how people are part of this movement and don't feel so hopeless now. And you're doing something just by putting, you're voting with your fork, like we say.
Yeah, of course. Awesome. Thank
on.
you for stopping
No,
by.
thank
and,
you. Thank you, guys.
Thank you for watching this episode. Foodshed. Check out all Spenser Little stuff. We'll see you on the other side.
Right.
Thank you.
My name is Spenser Little. I am a sculptor, artist living and working in San Diego. This is my dog, Miss Lucy,
Jeez.
Nice.
who is just a TJ street mutt that has been living with me for about 11 years.
Well, you both lucked out.
Yeah, she's a sweetheart.
Cool.
Hell yeah. Thank you for coming.
Yeah.
I know you were here one day and we talked about doing podcasts, and I know you kind of stray away from it,
Yeah.
but you agreed to do it.
Well, you know,
ours,
you sit in deep isolation as an artist for thousands of hours just by yourself, just toiling.
yeah.
And you do that because you eventually know it's going to lead to a long-form interview.
That's what we strive for. Interviews.
Yeah.
Well, I think you guys have an interesting past that I don't even know about.
Yeah.
And it's really bizarre. We should just probably get this one little thing out of the way. We have a lot of mutual friends, which is kind of cool and bizarre.
Yeah.
But our friends at Paleo Treats
Yeah.
gave us some snacks to have for the podcast.
Beautiful.
So they're fantastic, and they actually
They
just
are.
gave us the most amazing cake for.
I saw a photo of
yeah,
yeah.
to give to Lloyd Kaufman.
Yeah,
So,
fantastic.
So there's some snacks here that we can dive into, but yeah, Paleo Treats. They're so sweet, and they're right down the street, and they're awesome.
They are.
So I'm gonna just get that out of the way.
Truly
Snacks.
good humans, and Lee's an incredible
Yeah.
artist in her own right.
Oh,
But,
yeah.
yeah, they're very fascinating people.
Yeah.
I mean, do you know about Nick's background and how he was a Navy SEAL? And
No, not that part, but I've heard a bunch of crazy shit.
Nick's an interesting person, to say the least.
Well,
Oh, wow.
we'll probably have to get them on another podcast.
Yeah, they're characters. They're the rare San Diegans for
Well,
sure.
they brought you up, and I was like, oh yeah, of course. I don't know how.
They used to be my
Logan.
neighbors at the Glass House, the art studio down in Logan, and they ran Paleo Treats out of there. But I don't know if Lee still does it, but she used to be a part of a artist, a little collective of her and her friend that they called Man Rabbit. But I think they separated now. She's doing her own solo thing. But they did paintings down there at that
Yeah.
art studio space,
Cool.
and that's. I'm trying to think about when I met you. I met you though through all the TV guys, like
Yeah. Yeah.
and like Jeff and I mean I grew up with Rashad, skateboarding with Rashad. And,
Yep.
and so
It was
TV,
when we-
TV was like a
graffiti
crew.
crew.
Just
Yeah.
so people that are
yeah,
like,
yeah,
TV.
yeah, graffiti crew.
Yeah.
So that's I think I'm trying to think of the first time I met you. Was it at the 30th Street, the old studio?
Yeah, across
space?
from Bluefoot.
With your brother, right?
Yeah.
That's around the time when I was hanging out with Noodle a bunch.
Yeah,
But,
and you had the house kind of
We
around
had that
there
paint house. So
with the little bike,
oh,
little
man,
track.
the back on the backs in South Park, there was this place that was just fantastic, and the landlord was this crazy tweaker guy named John, and he rented us this studio space that my friends had. It was like a grandma apartment in front of this duplex that my friends had, and we turned the whole area into an art compound and put like practice dummy walls, and so all these graffiti writers and painters would come, and we'd have like art party nights where everyone would just paint and draw, and then it got a little out of control as far as like leftover adolescent boy energy, starting fires and things like that, and all the neighbors getting sad, and that was like my fat drunk Elvis phase where I was just like drinking heavily and being really stupid and like.
You got out of it.
Yeah,
Elvis,
absolutely.
Elvis didn't, but you did. so
Yeah,
that's great.
I got out of it. I'm not dead, full of shit on the toilet with a sandwich in my throat,
Yeah. Banana and peanut butter.
fried. But yeah, that's so. That's how is your brother, by the way? I haven't seen him forever.
He's good. He's good.
Cool.
He's just fucking working.
Yeah, he sees my buddy Luke.
Yeah, he's
Luke.
our mechanic.
Yeah.
I
God,
love-
it's so
Yeah.
crazy.
So I
Shout
grew
out
up-
to Luke the mechanic.
So I
He's
grew up
rad.
with Luke. I've known Luke since he was like 13, 14. We all grew up as East County skater kids.
Yep.
So he and I go way back. And his mother was Jehovah. And when I first met Luke, all he did was listen to Venom and watch Traces of Death.
Of course.
Things, and
Yeah.
like and skateboard and BMX and Southern California punk shit.
That makes sense. And he was actually tied in with like the kids.
Oh, yeah.
And all that
Yeah.
like punk scene down
The Chula
down
kids.
down in like South Bay.
Luke was, yeah.
Luke's
Yeah.
crazy because he was referred to me to go work on the van that I have, the Def Club Locust Everybody van.
Yeah.
And he was like, you know, I was in a band with Dave Astor, who was the original drummer in the Locust. And I was like, you were in a fucking band with Dave? This is crazy. And so I was like, so it was just really strange to like be, oh, it is a small world.
1 degree off, yeah.
It was insane.
I mean, Barbara Kruger said it's a small world till you try to clean it. But the
she is a fucking genius.
she is a genius,
Yes.
and all that shit that went down with Supreme too is crazy.
I know. It's going down now with our homies. Fuck Money. Supreme just like stole their fucking logo
Supreme
and shit.
rips everything
it's
off.
crazy.
So, I mean, I've danced with that devil. There's a company in China called Yoho, which is a Supreme knockoff. Like everything in China is kind of a Supreme of Western brands that work. And they own the rights to Popeye the Sailor Man. And they hired me in 2019 to go to Beijing and make all of these sculptures of Popeye the Sailor Man, where they built this big like cartoon tugboat in this mall in the center of Beijing called the Joy Luck Mall, which is like a 10 stories at least of just like shopping mall, just capitalism, and all the teenagers over there, everybody under 25 speaks in California, like Southern California television accent. They're all like, "Hey man, what's going on, bro?" And they're all like these young Chinese kids, and they all worship hip hop and basketball, and it's like so strange to see like communism, hyper communism mixed with hyper capitalism mixed with 5,000-year-old fucking Buddhist religions, and then just West Coast culture, all fucking molding. It was and then I got hired as like a cool West Coast street artist to go make this faux Supreme brand. Like I wouldn't even work with Supreme, but I wanted to get a free ride to China, so I went there, and I told them it was going to take me like 3 weeks to make all these cartoon Popeye sculptures, which was weird. But I made them all in one day in my hotel room because they're fucking cartoons. Like anyone could make them. So and then I just got to travel around Beijing and do my own thing for like 3 weeks. So it was a dream job. But like, it's funny because if Supreme came to me, I'd be like, "Fuck you guys." But like, I work for like a knockoff company.
Oh yeah, of course.
It's funny how you can find these like windows in your ethics where I was like, I really want to go to China. But so I went there and did that. But it's still like wasn't really a proud moment to work with this company that's ripping off a company that I don't even respect. So it's even like less respect for them.
Maybe I don't know. I feel like maybe it's a little.
But like when a B movie goes so far bad that it's good again.
Yeah, of
like,
course. That's kind of like what you did. Yeah.
That's exactly how I was looking at it, or at least how. What I told the teenage angst of like where like the young punker in me that was like, "What are you doing in China working for this conglomerate right now?"
I'm gonna go check out Beijing.
It was pretty interesting, but I tried to apply for my visa, and I put artist on the Chinese visa, and they refused it. And the company's like, "No, put designer." And so I had to put designer, and they approved it. They don't want Western artists there. They don't want, because it's like they don't want me for whatever reason. They want to keep it controlled. They're like, so it kind of was like, oh, artists have power in that society. Because here in America, I mean, they're getting rid of the TikTok dancers before the visual artists because no one gives a fuck about visual artists anymore because we don't influence anybody anymore. Not in this wave of fascism, at least. Well, previous waves, the artists were rounded up, but now the TikTok dancers. But it's funny. Yeah, China's a trip. Yeah. It's a strange melting pot of all these different things.
Speaking of melting pot of different things, can we dive into this one thing I want to ask you about?
Yeah.
It's the burning Chase Bank that we both were at during the George Floyd protest that happened. We were both there when it like first window got smashed, and then we were there, and then it went into flames. The whole thing, and it was really crazy to witness that. It was the first time I ever witnessed it. But I went back. I don't know if it was the exact next day or maybe it was a couple days later. But I went back just to go see it, and you had put up one of your sculptures. Can you remind me what it said?
I think it said, "Don't worry, they'll make their money back in overdraft fees."
That was it,
or something pretty close to that.
Yeah.
And to me, it was just when I was watching all the crowd start to target the banks, because they targeted the banks first and one of the administrative buildings, one of the after they were pushed away from the actual police headquarters, they started going towards the banks. And so I just was thinking about like what happened with J.P. Morgan and the financial crisis and the loan crisis and how much they sold the American public under the bus and fucked so many people's lives over with fraudulent loans and everything that happened in like between 2010 2012 with all these major banks. And so I was just over the moon happy watching this bank burn. And then I saw, being like a lifelong East County and living in La Mesa many years, and how everyone was just fucking losing their shit in the community, that a bank was burned. And I was like, this bank does not have our backs.
Yeah, they didn't.
So like I just wanted to do like counter sentiment about how these corporations do not have our backs in any way, because I just hated that they were getting community outreach and community love to this fully insured corporation that doesn't give a fuck about any small business or any person in the community. So yeah, that was just my own little pressure release valve of like counter commentary for myself.
I mean, we could just go into that whole thing forever, because the police just stopped. They were only protecting the police headquarters.
Yeah.
But it was really,
and they were also completely escalating the crowd. Zero de-escalation.
Yeah.
Zero anything other than just rubber bullets and paintball or pepper balls.
Yeah.
So.
But it was really profound. I mean, I already was friends with you and knew a lot about your art, but that was the one that really fucking like hit. I don't want to say like hit the nail on the head. Like the other stuff wasn't as important, but I was like, this is fucking crazy, because I just saw the bank burn, and then you went and put that thing up.
Yeah, I did it the next morning. I think I think I went like 7 a.m. the next morning and put it up.
Fucking crazy, and I was like, it made me so proud to be your friend, and proud that it sounds weird, but I was just like, this is the fucking shit right here. You know?
I mean, that's why I make art. I mean, it's the whole that's the whole fucking that's the biscuit right there. So that's what it is to me. It's like direct. I mean, just like what anarchism always has been. It's just like direct democracy, direct self-expression. And so for me, like, that's why I think it's so important to practice these art forms where we don't edit ourselves. And don't go, because I can look at my Instagram and I literally have schematics now of what's popular, and so I can literally go, oh, everybody likes this, so I can make titties and rainbows and make money and do this forever, because I literally have a item, like they've taken the spectrum of our human emotion and put it into a binary code of like or don't like. So what artists do is now they can just easily market to their fan base and do zero self-expression, all product-based thinking and market. Like, I see it with so many artists that I meet, and they're like mad poets, almost on the verge of shit-stained pants under the bridge level, like Bukowski poets. And then they go to L.A. and then one day they'll, paint a fucking guy with a man in a business suit with a bear helmet with a David Bowie lightning bolt across his face, and Instagram goes crazy, and then they just do an acute 90 and they become an icon maker the rest of their art career. So like, for me, like, leaving stuff on out in public spaces is like the antithesis of following that, because I do that because I need to make money. So I go, oh, everyone liked this, I'll do a release because I need to make my dinner. And so I do play that marketing game, because you have to if you want to eat off your art. Of course, it's a part of the equation.
So you're playing both sides of the
to me, the offerings in public are just like reminders of why I do what I do, and they're not about sales. They're not about anything other than my selfish desire.
You don't
honestly.
have to appease anyone by putting something up.
So it's like this, it's an offering to the whole fucking reason that started the process.
It keeps you grounded.
Yeah, it really does. Yeah. But there's also something really beautiful about like creating, like, selfishly for myself, like making this object, and then it's almost like that object's 18th birthday, where you're like, good luck out there in the world, and you see what fucking happens with this shit. Like the way like you saw it and it impacted you. Like, that's beautiful. That's cool, because I put that there for me. Like, all of them are for me. Like,
but when I saw it, I was like, I loved it. I loved the message, but also that it was you. I knew, but I tried to like step aside and be like, what if I was just here and been like a regular,
seen it unbiasedly.
But also like the people that were like, those are criminals, and you're like, they're fucking criminals, but so are the banks, and like this is a huge, massive topic to even start to try to combat. But I wonder like how that regular person's like, what the fuck, that, and then I hope that got into their brain. And
that's why I had other things to say that I try to keep it comical, because I love the cackle in front of the coffin. Like, I believe that the laugh is very important.
Yes.
Because hate hates the ha-ha. I just like that who wrote it? George Orwell said every joke is a tiny revolution. I fucking love that.
Yeah,
I love that quote, because
also humor is going to get through.
Exactly. And like, I mean, look in America, like, what are most musicians, what are most artists, what are most comedians? They're more left leaning. And that's why, like, Trump can't get good music for his rallies. So because
Yes, Kid Rock, he's not good.
Kid Rock's pretty good.
Yeah, he's pretty.
And then you got
Kid
Foo
Rock.
Fighters. It's like at least Kid Rock is like,
They got the Foo Fighters?
I mean, on accident.
Okay.
Like, no, they tried to like sue him, but like BMI and all that shit. They're like, when we
Yeah,
paid for
yeah.
this, you
I
can't
didn't know
fucking sue
that.
us. Jokes on that guy. But yeah, they had used their song, one of their.
Yeah.
I don't like Foo Fighters, but they used one of their songs.
But yeah, so in 2020, during that uprising, I mean, I don't have kids and I have a lot of energy. So if the kids are on the street, I join them. Every single uprising, I've gone out and made art, and I've made art live as I'm at the protest. I think I wrote that one too while the actual riot was going on,
Yeah.
as the bank was burning. I think
Wow.
I started writing it. So I mean, I did that at every single protest that I've ever been to, because like, if I'm going to be there and my power that I have is this weird little mechanism that makes me make this shit, I have to use it for. I mean, if I'm going to go, I may as well use this mechanism for something I believe in. So that's what I mean, that's what I do every day is I walk around and be like, it'd be funny if this was there, and I put it there.
I mean, seeing your shit in public is crazy. I saw it the other night at Peace Pies. I was like, oh shit, there's a
The
piece
sign,
of
or
there's
the
like
one in OB.
Yeah.
That one survived the fire.
Oh.
Was it the sentence, or was it a little?
Really long. Yeah, I can't
Yeah.
remember what it said, and I couldn't actually read it all because it went behind.
It said something. It's someone's quote that's like a psychedelic, because JP's like into those like Terrence McKenna psychedelic minded guys. I think it says something like a mind once expanded to a new dimension can no longer return to its previous
Yes.
configuration.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
Yeah.
But I made that for him. So he used to be my neighbor at a farmer's market when I first started slinging wire. I was still working in a biotech company, and I used to do the OB farmer's market, and Peace Pies was my neighbor.
And they did. before
And
they
I
had
would
a
make
store.
like one of his workers' earrings, and they'd give me free food. It was
Yeah.
beautiful. It was
Yeah.
barter system.
Yeah.
It was like,
Oh, yeah.
It was a perfect. That's why I loved doing the farmers markets, because I would trade for like local groceries and stuff. It was
Yeah.
fantastic. But I became friends with him through just vending next to him years ago, before I knew how to sell art, or I didn't really want to be a part of the art world or be a part of art galleries. So I would just go do farmers markets and things, because I wasn't on the internet yet or anything. But he did. I made that sign for him, and he does the raw vegan peace pies where there's no oven in his kitchen.
Yeah.
And the next door place was a flat, like frozen, flash fried garbage food, and they started the building on fire, and peace pies burned down.
Whoa.
And that sentence is the only thing that survived.
Yeah.
And that's
That fire then. Oh.
there's
shit.
2 peace pies burned down twice. The Encinitas location burned down, and then the Volterra location burned down.
What the
so
fuck?
And there's no oven.
No oven.
So I don't know what he's doing karmically, but he's like the nicest. Have you met JP?
No.
The nicest motherfucker, like most solid, stable,
Yeah.
just a good human, like a legitimately, genuinely good human.
Yeah.
So he doesn't deserve to lose. But I mean, both fires, of course. He's a small business. They fucked him up so bad. But I just remade a brand new sign, a real proper one that I welded and fabricated of a passion fruit flower, which is their logo, which for the Encinitas location, which I was super happy to do for him,
Yeah.
because he and I have this lineage together.
That's cool.
Yeah, it is cool.
Shout
And
out to Peace Pies too. If you,
Peace
people in
Pies,
San Diego,
Peace
people are
Pies
like-
is a
yeah.
fantastic, delicious food company.
Yeah. So when you're straddling these two parallel universes, the art world that pays and then the
Yeah.
art world that's like righteous. I mean, they're both. Do they? I mean, when they intersect,
They can.
but do they ever? Does one ever bite you in the ass?
Oh yeah. I mean, I've lost things for. What's up?
No.
Oh yeah. I've lost things for speaking my mind freely, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, let's go to the most recent example of like after October 7th, and I started doing anti-industrial military complex sentences all around different San Diego companies that work, that build weapons of mass destruction that are being used right now.
Spa Wars. And,
Yeah, there's tons. There's tons. And so I just started going to them and leaving little wire jabs for myself to try to heal my bumpin' brain, and instantly started getting attacked from my social media following. Lost shows at a gallery, not in San Diego, but I got pulled from a few shows because the people that run these galleries are pro-Israeli, and so I mean that was a direct, like instantly direct result of backlash for speaking my mind, and I never said anything other than like, hey,
anti-war.
anti-war,
Yeah.
anti-out-of-control industrial and military complex,
Yeah.
and speaking more about how we're like, there is no democracy, we're in a corporate coup d'etat, and we're completely being our dollars are being raped for genocide and colonialism, like what everybody knows, obviously. But yeah, so
But even if you just curb that comment at like, I'm against war, or these like machines that build war, you know,
Yeah.
and then you're still gonna get fucked with,
no
you
matter
know?
what,
Yeah, It's
especially
perfect.
during like the early fever of the saber rattling version, like the beginning, because I've been through enough of these crescendos of wars to understand like where the American zeitgeist mind is. You can't logically communicate with it. Like remember like 9/11, like there's no anyone that came out against the war machine was completely slandered fire.
yeah.
I mean, look what happened to Chris Hedges, one of my personal heroes, when he was a journalist at the New York Times, and he was like, there are no weapons of mass destruction. He got fucking, tarred and feathered and ruined his career. But I mean, I haven't had any unrecoverable backlash, but I mean, I've definitely had backlash for speaking my mind.
But there's also like the bright side of the backlash, because some people be like, yo, he's speaking out and he's getting fucking
That did happen,
like
yeah.
let's hook him up, like.
So that just happened, and I just went to Santa Fe, New Mexico, and I did something I rarely do, is on my social media. I was like, hey, I'm blowing through town. If anyone's here, I'll make you something to make some gas money. And a woman hit me up, and she was Iranian, and she's part of a collective of different women that help raise money and try to get people out of Gaza, and she explicitly hit me up because of those things that I left.
Wow.
So that is a direct example. It just happened last week.
That's crazy.
She actually bought four of these.
Whoa.
Which is fantastic.
Want to shift and just dive into that fucking thing? 'Cause that's shit.
Yeah, this is the fascist crucifix.
This is my favorite.
Yeah, the fascist crucifix switchblade. So I have a friend who dresses as a pregnant nun who's miscarrying, and she goes down to the Planned Parenthood every Saturday and stands in between people from the Rock Church. The Rock Church, they tell their congregation to go down there and film, man, woman, child going into Planned Parenthood to get medical care. And so they sit on stools and like film people over fences, and she goes and tries to create like a human barricade with umbrellas and dresses as a pregnant nun, as like comedic clown like Valley, also to ruffle the feathers of the Christian white nationalists. And I went there one Saturday, and it's all these men that are like my cousins, like these big cousin fucker white dudes. And I was like, oh, these are my people. So I felt like obligated to try to make a piece of art about it. So I get called, especially when I let my beard grow, I've been called many times like white trash Jesus or swamp meat Jesus, and like
From who?
different friends in a
Swap meet
like a
Jesus.
loving way.
Yeah.
Like I have a friend that I used to go to the swap meet
Okay.
with all the time, and he'd be like, "You look like swap meet."
Oh,
Jesus.
so it wasn't like malicious.
Not
Okay,
malicious
okay.
or not even condescending, almost like enduring, and like just like a male, the way men say they love you by making fun of you,
Oh yeah, yeah.
like that type of thing.
Kentucky Fried Christ.
Yeah. So I was like, what can I do to help this woman's form of protest and to help these people, these Planned Parenthood? So I went to, after one Saturday of having like these, and the men were super aggressive, and of course SDPD always sides with the right,
Yeah.
and so they're there protecting the Christian nationalists, and but these people that I know that do this are very smart about it and do it in a wise way that doesn't put them in harm's way or other people in harm's way. And so I was like, what can I make to like go do this again? So I was like, I thought it'd be really funny if I dressed as Jesus.
Yeah.
And then I made this crucifix, and I was thinking like I could go up to these white Christian nationalists and go like, be gone, Christian nationalists, be gone, and like do this to their face. And after I made it, I realized it was like way too violent because it's a switchblade with knives.
Yeah.
And I also realized like I'm already gonna incite them just because of my stature. Like but the idea all came out of like again, just like the thing at the bank. Like, what can I use this mechanism that I have to make something about this topic?
Sure.
So I mean, that's so the cross turning into the swastika, like, it just completely fell into my mind, because that's, I mean, obviously exactly what's happening. It was the simplest way to put exactly what I'm seeing happen. It was what fascism hiding behind Christianity. So it was just like this perfect metal poetic metaphor where I was like, oh, it's the simplest way to say the statement, and it's also it's a violent overtaking that they're doing. So the fact that it's a weapon adds to the poeticness to it. So that was all the genesis of that.
Did you get to do that though, or
I never did.
Yeah, because
I actually had talked to my friend, one of the friends that I know in this circle, and they said not. They asked me not to.
Yeah.
They said it would just incite people and lead to violence.
Yeah.
And
or a
that-
cop would just shoot you.
precisely.
Yeah.
That's kind of what they were worried about, because I already have like a criminal mug. Like I never get away with anything. Cops are always just like, "What's that guy doing?"
Yeah.
So like, it's not wise to do. It's not constructive.
Yeah.
It was constructive and therapeutic for me to make it and think about it, and then I mean, a lot of good things have happened, like the woman from Iran that I was just talking about in Santa Fe. I had this with me on the dash of my car, and she saw it and loved it, and she's buying them and sending them to different women that live in the United Emirates, like different family members that she has that are all teetering a delicate slope of being from Iran and also educated women. So
What do you think people buying that would do with it? Like display it, or
I
like,
imagine put it on their wall and then showing people, shocking people with it as
because you can hang it from the top.
yeah,
right?
it just hangs on a little simple
Yeah.
knell, and you can just pull it down and trigger it wherever you want.
You should do it to where it's like on somebody's door and it connects to their doorbell.
Doorbell ringer would be nice. I've made a doorbell ringer before.
Yeah.
I made a doorbell ringer based off of a Native American birthing ritual that I read in a anthropology book, and it was that there was this tribe, the Huichol, Huichol. They're the ones like known for like heavy beating and very vivid colors, and they also do all of like I think the bufo, the frog toad poison trips, and all that stuff. And they believe though that I was reading a book that was just about how artists bring things from like the subconscious netherworlds into reality, and the Huichol, I believe, like artists were like shaman of sorts, but they also believe that women were more spiritually enlightened than men. So during this birthing ceremony, the shaman would have this guy smoke the bufon, go out in the desert and have a crazy fucking, Jim Morrison acid trip or whatever, and they would come back, and then they would, during the woman would be having her labor pains, and they would tie a ceremonial tassel around the father-to-be's testicles. And so every time the woman would have labor pain, she would pull the cord in unison with her pain, so the man would experience pain together. So they'd both have enlightenment through child rearing, and both have like a touching the creator through the pain of childbearing, which when I read I thought was really beautiful. So I made a doorbell ringer where you pull a baby out of a woman and her legs spread, and then she pulls the man's balls and his head rings the bell.
I think I've seen it.
Yeah.
I made it years ago.
Okay.
That's a pretty complex.
That's made out of wood, and I carved wood for many years before I switched more into doing metal, and then metal then led to wire, and then wire makes the most sense because I mean, it's just the amount of elbow grease that goes into wood carving. Also, it's like kind of fucked up to take this beautiful tree organism that gives us oxygen and fruit, and like I'm sitting there, I mainly make human representation, so I'm turning this tree into a human. So like U2 tree will be humanoid, is kind of like I get in Existential Battles about it, where like I feel like I'm wasting, and you're like reducing like a block this big into like a tiny little character where you're wasting 60% of the tree. Where like that's what I love about this wire, is that there's just zero waste, and like it fixed the environmental ethics. Like that's one thing that pushed me towards working in wire, is that this is 10 cents of steel, and it's just, you can buy it at any hardware store for $4 for 400 feet, and there's no waste. You're just doing like the bare minimum outline. And then also it's kind of got like that Rumpelstiltskin factor where you're turning something valueless. You're like weaving the hay into gold. Like something valueless into something valuable. And I love that. I love that it's also like every blue collar worker that's ever worked construction like looks at this material because it's used so commonly in construction. And so I have this big crossover of like longshoremen, roughneck day laborer guys that like what I do because they recognize the material.
Whoa.
It's really interesting that happens. And then also I love like, you know how like Salvador Dali used to make paintbrushes from his pubic hairs because he wanted his genitals on rich people's walls.
Yeah.
I love the idea of like this valueless material is what is now like what the ornate are paying me their money or what the affluent are paying me their money for, and what decorates their walls is this like blue collar simple material.
Yeah.
I like the poetic metaphor of that. But yeah, the wire too is also what led though to leaving it in public, because when I first started doing it, I didn't think it had any value. I thought it was I always thought, I didn't go to art school. I didn't even graduate high school. I dropped out and never went to school again, and never had an art class, never was ever ushered towards the arts, even though when I was a kid I had an ability for it. Like I was always told, I was raised by college professors that were like, you got to focus on your scholastic studies. You can't make a living in the arts. And
I mean, most people can't.
most people can't.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like what Chris Rock said, you can do anything you want if they're paying. So, but so like when I found wire, I always thought like sculpture had to be like, you know, tough bronzes or whatever.
Yeah.
Like I never thought it could be delicate and fragile. I just thought wire was valueless because it just didn't seem like it had the permanence. But like I said, I mean, it's that one that survived the fire at Peace Pies. Like, you know, a painting wouldn't survive. It's stronger. It's more powerful than an oiled canvas, which of course lasts for a long, long time. But yeah, so that's why I started leaving them out in public spaces, is because I was doing it constantly and I was producing all of these piles of work. And the woman I was dating at the time, she's like, what are you doing with all these piles of wire? And so she's like, get rid of them. So I just started tying them onto street poles everywhere. So it wasn't like some like thought out, contrived thing. It really was just my nervous hands that always need to keep moving got attracted to this material, and the material is easy to work with. So like it's prolific. You can produce a lot of it quickly and cheaply. And so that's what started the whole
leaving it.
Yeah, the public.
It's almost like a geocache, whatever everything is.
Little,
yeah. Like,
is that where you leave like a little thing and you geomark it?
Yeah. And so it's like, because on Orange and Fairmont, you got the two light pole, the stoplight poles, right?
I did for a while.
They're gone now, but I was like,
those got taken down.
Yeah.
The city attorney told the business heights, I forget the name of the entity, but one of the entities in that part of the City Heights Business Association, they hired me to do, I think, 9 sculptures. I think it was
so you were supposed to do it. I
Yeah,
thought you like guerrilla did it. And I was like, how did he get up there on those?
No, those were all paid for.
Wow.
But that was a spin-off of them seeing ones that I had done.
Yeah.
So I'd done so much legwork leaving them everywhere that I started.
Paid off.
Exactly.
Yeah, wow.
Which is now like, fully. Like I can't believe, like it seems like a smart business strategy, but it was all complete dumb luck. I got completely swept up into the whole street art movement, which is now called the urban contemporary movement.
Yeah.
And so now that I'm in the urban contemporary movement, it's pretty incredible. It's I've got to travel the world, got to show at museums, got to have now like a network of international artists all over the world that I'm friends with because of these festivals I've gone and done. I'm going to Hong Kong next month to do something with an entity called HK Walls, where they're taking over this park in the center of Hong Kong that's been there for 100 years. And this park has been used by poets, authors, and artists for kind of dissent and political dissident, like because Hong Kong has such a tumultuous past with, you know, the British colonization and where they are now with China. Yep. I think it's called an administrative state. Like it's essentially like what we're doing to Puerto Rico and Haiti.
Yeah.
And so this park has been like a hub of like free thinking and political dissent, and now they're having artists come, and they're asking me to put art all around this whole park. So I'm getting hired to go do that in November. So I'll be in Hong Kong. And so that all came off of like social media and them seeing what I do naturally, and they even kind of told me to speak my mind freely. So now I'm just like learning as much as I can about the culture, so I can make things that are relevant to that region, which is going to be really hard for my El Cajon gringo ass. But like
also in English, but I
they're sending me poems that were important done by authors in the dialect with translations, of course. So I might actually try to do some caricatures. I mean, I could emulate anything in the material. So we'll see what I come up with. Hopefully something good, but it's just another amazing thing that is just from dumb luck. Like I never knew what I was doing. I never realized when I first started leaving stuff on the streets that it would lead to anything. It just was a way. It was a coping mechanism of therapy and keeping my hands busy, and exactly the same impulse that made me leave it at the bank is the same impulse that makes me leave it everywhere. It's just like me trying to process and it's corny, but I saw some meme about the guy that held the candle every day at the Vietnam protest in front of the White House. And he's like, I'm not doing it to change the world. I'm doing it to change me, to keep me who I am.
Yeah.
And I identified with that completely.
Yeah.
Like, that's exactly why I do this mechanism. And there's many times where I'm like, oh, I'm a fully grown, almost 50-year-old man. I'm 48. And I'm sitting here like bending whatever the fuck I am out of this thin iron strand. Like, what am I doing like right now?
Yeah, but there's other 48-year-old grown-ass men doing pointless, stupid shit for a lot of money.
But I mean, do you ever have like those existential battles where you're like, what am I still doing?
Oh, I have them every day. I'm like, I have no money, and I'm fucking in weird bands, and this sucks.
But you like, there's times where you forget that you love it, you know, and that you lose that purpose and you lose that spark, and the moxie dwindles. And
the things that bring you back are really unique. Like for me, it's always like someone coming up and saying like, "Hey, your band saved my life," 20 years ago. I'm like, "What the fuck? That's crazy." Because I doubt those 48-year-old men that have like the real the respectable jobs or whatever you want to call it are getting that praise.
Well, let's do the podcast reach around. So when I was 13 years old, and actually probably like 14, and you had your band Struggle, which I know you're not super proud of. But
no, I am.
I am.
Yeah. Oh,
because
thanks.
as an East County kid, that's exactly what I was looking for.
That was a fucked up time.
It was.
Yeah.
So for me, especially being raised all among East County men that were what they were back then, like, and I didn't identify with that kind of masculinity at all, or society at all, like that, your band was like a huge imprint on my adolescent brain of what I was looking for counterculture, for punk, for self-expression, and for also anti-establishment, anti-police state.
Yeah.
So to me, like, to have you say, hey, that thing you left on the bank is good, is like the equivalent to someone being like, hey, this song helped me get through a hard time. So like that, those are windows of deep purpose, like that as you know, like stinky Homo sapien confused little horny monkeys, like that, like there's not a lot of purpose in this insane asylum chaotic world. Like I'll take it wherever I can get it at this point.
I mean, I don't
even if it just affects one person, like how we always discuss it with Martin, if it's just one person that gets it.
Yeah, I mean, how do you quantify the value? Everyone wants numbers these days. Everyone's like, how many followers, how many likes? And they just want to quantify it with quantity. And that's not at all. Look how miserable everybody is.
It's
That's
true
clearly
because
not.
so many people liked it.
Yeah.
Like, no, it's bullshit.
Yeah, I say to myself all the time, like, what good did all of this thinking in society and trend, where did it get us? It just got us way further away from any kind of humaneness. Like, we're so savage and petty and brutal these days.
But as much as I think that's very accurate, I also think that there's some of us that are maybe on a different level that are learning stuff.
I mean, I know people that I consider almost like monk-like.
Sure.
That are found a way to navigate this and stay balanced and have a level of enlightenment that inspires me to try to be more humane and better human. So, I mean, that's possible, of course. I mean, when you speak in broad brushstrokes, you never paint every little corner. Like, so, I mean, I try not to speak in absolutes, but American culture trains you to speak in absolutes, so it's hard to get out of it for me.
Well, it's kind of interesting because I like the Swastika Cross, and maybe I'm being a arrogant dick here, but like it kind of reminds me of like something that like maybe Struggle would have done, where we just like came out of the gates like, fuck you, pig, like just burning flags, like blah. And like, as much as that's relevant and cool and maybe righteous to a lot of people, it's also very jarring, especially if you're
gonna lose.
That's the one thing I learned hard was like playing shows.
It's more division.
Every time I'm playing to all these fucking people that already are on the level, and you're just like, we fucking hate pigs and we hate the government, we hate, and we're anti-Nazi, and everyone's like, yeah, get over it, we are too. Like, let's.
That's kind of how I feel a lot. That's one thing because I come from teachers, so I'm always like, is that constructive? Like, everyone, the time for ringing the bell of alarm is over. Everyone knows everything's fucked up. Everyone, we need solutions.
Well, so
which
like
is very hard. That's not as easy as a fucking symbol to symbol.
But that thing is sick. Like, I'm like, I want to get one of those for my house. But I do think that like the one at the bank kind of is more like highbrow it's like a little jab.
Yeah.
But it's like, hey, I'm not fucking coming at you with this swastika thing. Like, fuck you.
That was more of like almost like a satire, like comedic satire to
like
which,
Andy Kaufman or something. Where it's just like there's a bit of subversiveness in there. This
exactly.
is pretty fucking righteous.
That's my favorite.
That's the way to change things.
It is. Yeah. The key is, I mean, talking about it in a way that brings us together and doesn't divide us more. I mean, that as far as what you can do with art, and especially music, because music is the most popular art form that, you know, brings people together more than any other art form. But that's what I constantly tell myself. And I've sandbagged many ideas and just thrown them in the dumpster because I thought they were just more fucking almost like attaboy, do we really need to be told this again? Because everybody knows where.
But some of those attaboy things are pretty rad. Like that thing is fucking.
They can
rad.
be. Yeah, this one I'm proud of. Like I was telling you earlier, I'm real proud of that one, and I'm rarely proud of anything I've made. But that one was perfect for the moment. So it encapsulated the moment of what I was feeling, what I was thinking, and the violence I was seeing. Because I'm seeing.
It's insane.
I mean, I see the rhetoric turning to street violence. I mean, we'll see if there's political violence skirmishes this fucking November. There may be.
Yeah.
I mean, I have many friends that aren't doomers, aren't alarmists, aren't preppers, that are fucking definitely freaking out.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Hey, the almighty algorithm told us that our podcast is too long, so we're going to split this into two because people's attention span have been diminished. So,
What'd you say?
So that was part one of this podcast with Spenser Little. We're going to take a break here. You guys can check in and grab part two if you're still on board. We think you should be. We hope you are. And I don't know. This is the first for us, so we're trying to figure out what the best route is to split this up. The conversation flowed too well. I think it was very natural, and we covered everything. And next thing you know, quite a bit of time had passed. So if you're still on board, stay tuned for the next part of this same episode.
Cult and Culture is a Ruinous Media podcast proudly sponsored by Earthquaker Devices, Heartwork Coffee, Diodario, Kindred, Smashed Plastic Record Pressing, and San Diego Foodshed.
Planet B.